Welcome, everyone, and good morning. And I'm going to call the meeting to order. And the first thing is the land acknowledgement. On behalf of the board, we acknowledge that York Region is located in the traditional territory of many indigenous peoples, including Anishinaabe, Honenoshi, Huron-Wendat, and the Métis people, and the treaty territories of the Honenoshi, Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, and Williams Treaty First Nation. Today, this area is home to many diverse indigenous people, and we recognize their history, spirituality, culture, and stewardship of this land. We also acknowledge the Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation as our closest First Nation community. So members of council, the board, sorry, I'll probably say that a few times. First thing we're going to do is a swearing in of the new board member so that she can actually be part of the board meeting. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Kuzmic.
Thank you, Chairman, and welcome to your inaugural board meeting. I would like to, if you could join me standing, we will do first the oath of office, followed by the oath of secrecy. And if you would repeat after me. I, Madeline Bodenstein, solemnly swear that I will be loyal to His Majesty the King, and that I will uphold the Constitution of Canada, and that I will, to the best of my ability, discharge my duties as a member of the Regional Municipality of York Police Services Board, faithfully, impartially, and according to the Police Services Act, any other act, regulation, rule, or bylaw. Thank you. We'll now complete the oath of secrecy. I, Madeline Bodenstein, solemnly swear that I will not disclose any information obtained by me in the course of my duties as a member of the Regional Municipality of York Police Services Board, except as may be authorized or required by law. And if you would be so kind as to sign each oath. Thank you. And welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, Madeline. And so just a little bit about Madeline. Is a funeral director, pre-planning specialist, a real estate person, an LLQP insurance agent, and a property manager. Her community involvement includes serving as director and chair of the nominations committee for the RENA Foundation Board of Directors, a chairwoman of the Farm Rehab in Stouffville, an associate member of the BSAC in Florida, a member of the TIOC board, as she is a joint co-sponsor of the Chiefs Gala in the city of Toronto for victim services, and she is also a member of numerous professional associations related to her career. She was previously the CEO, a second stage vehicle manufacturer, where she gained experience in government relations, manufacturing principles, and accounting, contract negotiations, employee management, and understanding finances. And she was also the managing executive director of a well-known Toronto dinner theater. All of her experience and skills that she has acquired throughout her career will serve her well on the York Region Services Board. So welcome, Madeline. And she also lives in the city of Vaughan. So that's probably the most important thing, isn't it, Linda? So anyways, welcome, and we'll start the meeting. Any disclosure of interest? Okay, I'm going to ask Walter and Mariel to approve the confirmation of the minutes of March 20, 2023. Questions? Any concerns of the minutes? On being done, all those in favor? Against? The motion's carried. So just a couple of housekeeping. Today is National Executive Assistance Day. Lena, we will have to have lunch today. Oh, I know. Sorry. I apologize. No, that doesn't mean that I just, we have to have lunch, so. Yes, we're having lunch, okay. Yes, geez, I really I'm not in the good books already today. And now, it's also, Kids and Pets Day and it's Pretzel Day, so it's all something to look at. So we also have a very special guest today. Jetta Sohote? GT. Okay, and she is the Police Services Advisory for the Minister of Solicitor General today. Welcome. I know she's been here before, and it's great to have you here this morning with us. So the first thing on the agenda is presentation. It's 2022 annual use of the force report, Chief of Police. And so I'm going to ask the acting chief, Amita, to introduce this and who's coming to present.
Well, good morning, Mr. Chair, and welcome everyone. Welcome, Ms. Bodenstein. We look forward to working with you. Congratulations on your appointment. The chief does send his regards. He is away in Poland and Israel on a global peace mission and a leadership and action initiative with our community partners. So he sends his regrets. I will turn it over to Deputy De Silva to introduce our speakers.
Thank you.
Thank you, Acting Chief Almeida, and good morning to Chairman Emerson and members of the board. And it's my pleasure to introduce Superintendent Kevin McCloskey, the officer in charge of corporate development, and Inspector Chirag Bhatt of our Training and Education Bureau, who will provide an overview of the use of force reporting for 2022. Kevin?
Just maybe want to dim the lights a bit. Jacqueline, thanks. Good, thank you. Go ahead, gentlemen. Oh, maybe it's too dark for you. Hey, we're in the dark now. So they can see. That's good. That's good. Yeah, that's okay.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman Emerson. Good morning, Vice Chair Pellegrini. Good morning, members of the York Regional Police Services Board that are joining us both in person and virtually. Thank you for the introduction, Deputy. As mentioned, this presentation that we're about to deliver is intended to augment the actual written version of the 2022 annual use of force report for York Regional Police. Our presentation today will cover the governance of use of force reporting. It will cover the use of force training at York Regional Police, the steps we've taken to build out this report. We will look at some key data points. And finally, we're going to look forward into 2023 and beyond. The inspector and I would just kindly ask that if you do have any questions throughout, please just hold them till the end, at which point in time we'll be more than happy to address your question. Use of force reporting is required, and it is governed by Regulation 926 of the Police Services Act. A use of force report is required when an officer draws a handgun in the presence of a member of public and/or points or discharges a firearm. Additionally, the use of force report is required when an officer uses a weapon other than a firearm on a person, or when an officer uses physical force on a person that results in an injury that requires medical attention. And finally, a use of force report is required when an officer deploys or displays a conducted energy weapon, which you will hear referred to as a CEW throughout this presentation. And this includes when a CEW is presented in demonstrated force mode. The images in this slide illustrate the current Ontario use of force model and the use of force report, which is a ministry document. The use of force model is a tool, and we use it to guide the use of force application and training in Ontario. Officers receive training both in-house at York Regional Police and at the Ontario Police College. And this training is focused on the assessment of situations, with particular attention being paid to subject behavior, to situational factors such as officer perception, environmental factors, dispatch relayed information, and the number of subjects present at any given event. The use of force report is a data form with ministry selected fields for officers to complete. The form asks for officers to select from one of seven ethnicities that the officer perceives the subject to be. A new use of force model will be introduced later this year. Inspector Batt will speak about that later in the presentation. At York Regional Police, use of force training is taught at the cadet level, both at YRP in our training facility and at the Ontario Police College. Additionally, use of force training is taught annually at our in-service training and is focused on subject behavior, on de-escalation, and on crisis intervention. YRP also trains using a decision-making model known as NRA, and it speaks to making decisions based on what is necessary, what is risk effective, and what is acceptable. NRA principles are built into our Incident Command 100 through 300 training courses, and it is very much foundational in the new 2023 use of force model. In addition to use of force training and subject behavior, York Regional Police strongly considers officer perception. As such, we recognize that all people have some form of implicit or subconscious bias, and we understand that that can influence perception. To address this, YRP has a robust anti-racism training strategy to support our use of force decision-making and our crisis intervention tactics. In order for us to have built a robust and transparent use of force report, the York Regional Police Corporate Development Section formed a District Community Liaison Committee, which is made up of both training and education and recruiting staff. Additionally, it is made up of 12 citizens from York Region who represent both our diverse and vulnerable communities. The DCLC has assisted us and continues to assist us in informing our use of force reporting, our training, and our recruitment strategies. Training and education gave instruction on use of force reporting. We immersed DCLC members in training scenarios, and we provided them with data from both 2021 and 2022. We did that such that we could seek their valuable feedback and input, and we have incorporated that into our reporting. Additionally, York Regional Police, through the training and education section, sought out input from our anti-racism consultants at Foster's and Associates and considered their feedback as well in the building out of our report. Let's look at some key numbers from the 2022 use of force report. In 2022, there was over 400,000 police public interactions with York Regional Police. Only 199 of those interactions resulted in a use of force incident. From that, we saw a total of 260 subjects and a total of 358 use of force reports submitted. I'll explain that a bit. Despite there being 199 incidents, if there is more than one officer involved or more than one subject involved in any one incident, an additional use of force report is generated. And that's why the numbers will be 260 and 358 above and beyond the 199. Let's look at some key takeaways. 2022 saw a 13.5% decrease in use of force incidents over 2021. This number is very significant. 99.95% of all York Regional Police public interactions were resolved without the application of force. And in fact, 80.5% of all 2022 use of force reports did not involve an actual use of force, meaning there could be demonstrated force, either with a pistol or CW, in accompaniment with communication and de-escalation tactics to resolve an incident without any actual use of force being applied. On this slide, we have some use of force options and their related numbers of reports. Below, you'll also see in each category both a page number and a figure number, and that relates to the written report that you have. And so going through top to bottom, firearm pointed, we have 151 reports. CEW, 84 total reports. 53 of those are in displayed mode or demonstrated force mode, and 31 were actual deployments. Physical control, 41 reports. Aerosol weapons, 6 reports. Police service dog, 6 reports. If you were to total these numbers up, they would not equal 358. We've left a couple of areas off simply because they're not as germane to this information. Number one, there are 22 incidents that require use of force reports when officers have had to humanely dispatch an animal. And the balance of the reports, being 48, involve the drawing of a handgun. And this is not at a subject. This is just a required input for a use of force report when an officer draws a firearm and it may be observed by a witness. That is not the subject. The majority of our use of force incidents and reports are generated by our frontline officers. In fact, 85% of our use of force reports come from our uniformed members. This is a consistent number over the past several years. As a result, training and education continues to place emphasis on providing training to our frontline uniformed members. With respect to whether use of force occurrences happen in the day or the night, you'll note from the graph on the right-hand side of the slide that it is basically 50%, and that has been a consistent trend over the last 5 years. I'll turn it over to Inspector Bott.
Thank you, Superintendent McCloskey. Over the next several slides, I will take you through the data and details related to subjects involved in use of force incidents. As a point of reference, out of over 400,000 police and public interactions, a total of 260 subjects were involved in use of force incidents. Of the 260 subjects, 117 subjects were found to be armed with a weapon. This is an increase of almost 44% when compared to 2021. Broken down by the numbers, in 2021, York Regional Police officers encountered a total of 81 armed subjects during use of force incidents. In 2022, we saw this number rise to 117 armed subjects being encountered. When we took a look at the types of weapons that our officers were encountering, we found that firearms were the most common type of weapon being encountered during a use of force incident at 45.2%. Edge weapons being the second most common at 35.8%, and other weapons comprising of 18%. Other weapons can include a vehicle being used as a weapon or perhaps another blunt object. For the first time in 5 years, we have seen firearms become the most commonly encountered weapon during a use of force incident. Of the 260 subjects, 143 unarmed subjects were involved in use of force incidents. The fact that a subject was unarmed does not mean that the application of force was not reasonable or justified. An unarmed subject could be someone presenting with assaultive behavior or a subject believed to be armed but later found to be unarmed. An example of force being utilized on an unarmed subject could be an assaultive subject on whom a CW is pointed in an effort to gain compliance. Of the 143 subjects, 37% had actual physical force applied, while the remaining 63% had demonstration of force and communication utilized in an effort to gain compliance. In 2022, 39 subjects sustained injuries during use of force incidents. As a reminder, subject injury could range from receiving first aid treatment from paramedics and ranging up to receiving medical treatment at a hospital. In 2022, York Regional Police recorded a total of 25 officer injuries during use of force incidents. Again, considering the total number of police and public interactions, which is in excess of 400,000, a subject sustaining an injury as a result of a police interaction is exceptionally rare. As mentioned earlier in the presentation, the use of force report captures perceived race of the subject. This data allows police agencies to consider the intersectionality of use of force and race. Out of the 260 total subjects, subjects perceived to be Black represented the largest race category with 35%, or a total of 92 subjects. Closely followed by subjects perceived to be white at 34%, or 89 total subjects, then followed by those perceived to be East Southeast Asian with a total of 27 subjects, or 11%. Based on this data, subjects perceived to be Black were disproportionately represented in use of force incidents when using population as the benchmark. It is important to note that York Regional Police does not always get to control who or what we encounter. Therefore, it is exceptionally important for us to assess how we responded when we arrived. In fact, of all the use of force incidents, 85% or 169 of use of force incidents stemmed from citizen-generated calls, with only 15% or 30 use of force incidents arising from an officer-generated call. To say this in another way, 169 use of force incidents out of the 199, the officer had limited control over who or what they were about to encounter when dispatched to that call. For that reason, and in an effort to be responsible in our reporting and to be able to understand what is happening with respect to use of force encounters, we took a deeper look into each and every one of our use of force incidents. General occurrence reports and officer notes were reviewed by an officer not involved in the data analysis or the authoring of this report. The member categorized factors such as whether the subject was armed or unarmed, subject behavior, and situational factors such as the type of call or perhaps information that was known to the officer based on dispatch information. Information related to the subject race was not readily available to this member when completing this task. This race data was added at a later time in an effort to limit researcher bias. Our review of every one of our incident or use of force incidents found that when faced with similar subject behaviors and similar situational factors, there was no notable difference in the application of force based on race. During this review, we found that our officers responded to subject behaviors proportionally, reasonably, and in accordance with our training. The figure on the slide and associated data can be found on page 23 of the use of force report. The figure represents the various factors that influence an officer decision to utilize force. These influencing factors are further broken down by perceived subject race. It doesn't end here for York Regional Police. We are committed to continuously reviewing and enhancing our training in both use of force and how officer perception can be guided by one's unconscious biases. In January of 2023, the province released the modernized use of force report, which introduced new fields that will help police services identify patterns and trends with respect to the use of force. In addition to race, the report now contains gender perception and age to allow for further analysis. Later this year, the use of force model will be replaced by the Ontario Public Police Interaction Model, which is depicted on the slide. Central to this model is conflict prevention and de-escalation. These enhancements and improvements will help inform our training and allow us to gain even further insights with respect to our training needs and interactions with our community. Members of the board, there's been a lot of data that's been presented to you over the last 15 minutes. And so as we conclude this presentation, I want to bring us back to 5 key highlighted points from our use of force report. First, use of force incidents involving York Regional Police are exceptionally rare, with 99.95% of police public interactions being resolved without the application of force. Second, the majority of our use of force reports involve demonstration of force only. Third, our officers are encountering armed subjects with greater frequency. And for the first time in 5 years, the most commonly encountered weapon during a use of force encounter is a firearm. Fourth, our officers responded similarly when faced with similar subject behaviors and situational factors, regardless of race. And finally, in an effort to continuously improve, York Regional Police continues to implement new training, which focuses on de-escalation and bias-free policing. Thank you very much for your time, and we welcome any questions that you may have.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, and it's a great report and presentation, and the report is a lot of good data going forward, and we really do appreciate that. It's good information for us. Just take down the slideshow and we'll go to the, is there any questions? Now I'm going to bring the report also forward, which is the report number 8.5 going forward, and we'll bring the report forward along with the presentation. Other questions? Councillor Linda, go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman, and good morning, everyone. To Superintendent McCloskey, thank you so much for the presentation. I read the report quite closely and I want to, I guess, congratulate. I think it's an extremely good report. But Chairman, I do have a question that I believe should be asked in a private closed session. So I don't know how you want to handle that. I would like to refer this into private session before we approve it.
Okay, sure, I can, we can, pull it out and then go back into the private session. Sure, I can defer it. Let me see if there's any other questions before.
Thank you. That
so-
would be my motion, Mr. Chair. Just that I don't believe my question should be asked publicly. So this is why I'm requesting, it could be a litigation matter.
Yeah,
So
that's fine.
I'd prefer that it would be referred into a closed session
Not a problem.
or private
But-
session, as you call them. Thank you.
Okay, but just before we go into, put that in there, are there any other questions that any board member want to ask at this time on that? Yeah, Walter, go ahead. Just have to put your microphone on, Walter, sorry, because everybody's not going to be able to hear you on the screen.
Thank you for an outstanding report. A couple of questions. In terms of your lessons learned, how are they translated down to training? So you've done a very careful analysis of incidents. You have indicated that you're taking lessons learned. How is that actually translated to the new officers in particular, but the officers as a whole? That's my first question. The second one is, the incidence of firearms use is going to go up on an ongoing basis. So this year it's up dramatically at 43%, but it's going to be in all likelihood going to go up again. And there's a really profound set of questions that emerge from the fact that you are now being confronted by firearms, and what preparations and what training is being done with respect to firearms, which would lead to the worst case scenario and traumatic incidents, obviously.
Mr. Chairman, through you, thank you very much for the question. So to answer the first question of how have we taken lessons learned from this report and incorporated into our training. So we have a use of force review committee, which meets quarterly. And this use of force committee is comprised of myself, the staff sergeant that oversees practical skills, a patrol sergeant, as well as a member from our real-time operations center. And we review our use of force data on a quarterly basis to see if there are any trends. And the reason we do that is to make adjustments into our either in-service training or standalone training courses that we have. So for example, one of the things that we have done, taken into consideration that our training is focused on de-escalation, is we've introduced de-escalation training and further crisis intervention training at the recruit stage at our level 3. So when they finish the Ontario Police College, and this is done again in an effort to prepare our officers to be able to deal with some of the situations that they're going to face. With respect to the second question about firearms being more encountered, again, our training and our in-service training, which is our annual training, is adapted and changed every single year based on the trends that are found in this report. So based on the things that our officers are encountering, we will adjust our training accordingly. So for example, we will train our officers in circumstances such as active shooter incidents, or our members have the appropriate training to be able to respond to these sorts of incidents. But also in addition to that, our firearms training is always incorporated into in-service training. But again, everything that we train and everything that we do focus in on de-escalation and communication.
If I may, I appreciate that priority, obviously, because it's a necessary one in society to ensure the safety of the public. The other side, the second question really refers to the growing incidence of firearms-related events resulting in the death of officers. And very clearly, it is important that officers be given the best possible training for the purposes of their own protection, as well as that of the public. The most recent report issued in the East Coast speaks eloquently and voluminously to the issue of training. And again, if you have any additional comments on that, I'd be grateful.
Yes, absolutely. And Mr. Chairman, through you, with respect to the commission report from out east, we do have a robust incident command training program that is available to our membership. That is mandatory. Incident Command 100 for all of our frontline members. In addition to the question or to the point of the dangers that are being faced by officers, our use of force section or practical skills unit regularly reviews the type of incidents that our officers are finding themselves in, specifically use of force encounters that our officers are finding themselves in. And we will develop different scenarios based on what we are seeing happening and adjusting the scenarios so that our officers take part in these scenarios during use of force training to prepare them to be able to deal with these situations should they arise. So that is how we're preparing our members for those types of situations.
Would that include lessons learned from other incidents by other forces across Canada?
Absolutely. So our practical skills unit works with a group, a community of practice with other practical skills units throughout the province. And we speak to each other on a regular basis to identify what trends they're seeing. Again, for what we've seen recently as well, a lot of the lessons learned have been incorporated into this year's in-service training. We also consider recommendations from inquests and we review inquests on a regular basis so we can incorporate the lessons learned there into our training component annually.
Thank you.
Thanks, Walter. Mario? You have to put your microphone on, sir. Sorry, because they
Thank
can't
you.
hear you on the screen. That's why.
Thank you, a beautiful report. There's a couple on a couple pages, subject and receive subject raise. I know we have a percentage here, but what I don't understand is a percentage of what? We should have a percentage of people of the race too, in order to see the percentage of, for instance, we have 34%, 11%. We need to have the total. How many people are these incidents are happening? Is it 500,000? 1 million is 200,000, and 10 people is 20 people. So that average that we have here will probably gives us more details where we should put our effort and how we can help our community maybe to have a better community. Because right now we have an average of what has happened, but we don't have it. Is it this average on 500,000 people, so we have 34% or 11%, or is it maybe on 50,000 people that this is happening?
Deputy, go ahead.
Through you, Chairman Emerson, and just so I understand the question, so in relation to perceived race, so if we took an example of our Black community, what you're asking is what is the percentage of our Black community that exists within York Region? And although not stipulated, I believe that percentage is 6% of our population, which represents, I believe, 30,000 people.
So I think if in these kind of let's say percentage, if we can have attached the population, York Region, maybe we have 1,500,000 people, let's say an example.
Just a
So
million too.
let's divide them according to what more than that.
Not as bad, but go ahead. That's okay.
So if we can divide the percentage, so then we know where our effort together as a community, we can put and help out the community for, to better.
Sure. Acting Chief?
Certainly, sir. Mr. Chair, through you, and thank you for the question, Mr. Corlucci. I understand, I believe I understand what you're asking. But what we're trying to do here is not focus so much on the population base of York Region as the foundation for our efforts. As the officers have articulated, when we're reviewing this we are reviewing it by with the view of the subject behavior, not so much the population. Speaking on the other to the other point where I believe you're alluding to is our efforts within the community to engage and foster relationships. We've done significant work in that regard, and it is focused in a number of areas that are highlighted through our strategy to engage the community. And again, based on a number of factors, both locally and regionally, in terms of where we focus. So we are continually trying to engage and foster relationships with our communities. And we know a number of communities that are quite outspoken in terms of our efforts to make and foster positive relations with them. So again, that's part of our overall strategy is to engage that constantly. The crime prevention and the engagement piece is always buttressed with our enforcement activities. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mario. Any other questions? So I'm going to ask Councillor Jackson and or Linda and Norma to move this report to in private session. Gentlemen, just stick around for a little while and then I'll come back to you. I'll do that first on the in-camera when we go into private session, okay? Okay, all those in favor? Against, the motion's carried. Thank you. Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Just hang around and we'll have you back and then, well, I'll see how quickly we get there. No problem. Okay, there are no deputations, so members of the board, there are 7 communications going forward. Are there any communications from 1 to 7 that anyone would like to speak to separately? Any communications from 1 to 7? Yes, oh, no, okay, yes, no. Mayor Pellegrini, oh, you request to speak. There, that's the one. Okay, go ahead.
I'm trying to get the right one.
Okay, just speak up. I can get you. Go ahead.
I appreciate just a quick 8.3.
8.3, certainly.
Yep.
Okay, all right. Any others? Okay, I'll get Madeline and Walter to move those forward. All the rest, all those in favor? Against, the motion is carried. Okay, so 8.3, sir, go ahead.
Just a little background, because we have 2 letters from the Insurance Bureau of Canada. Was this generated by them or us complaining? And what's the result?
Chief, acting chief, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I will defer to General Counsel Jason Fraser.
Okay.
Thank
Jason.
you, Acting Chief, and good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Through you, Mr. Chair, this was a letter that originated from the Insurance Bureau of Canada, a complaint with respect to a particular tow operator that operates with a contract with us, and the fact that they were billing at rates that were inconsistent with the City of Vaughan's bylaw. I take it at some point, the City of Vaughan changed their bylaw from one that was based on the towing companies providing their slate of fees to the municipality in advance to the current bylaw where set fees or set maximum fees are established for things such as attaching the hook to the vehicle and storage. And I think in particular, the issue here is with respect to storage and this tow operator charging for storage that was greater than what was allowed by the bylaw. And this rate and the rate that was indicated to us through their agreement with us was inconsistent with the bylaw. That was brought to our attention. We brought it to the attention of the towing company, and things have been straightened around to make sure now that all of the fees that are being charged by that towing company when they're attending York Regional Police related matters, collisions and the like, are fees that are consistent with the regions or with the municipality's bylaw.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. I'd be delighted to move receipt.
Thank you, and I'll get Linda to second it. All those in favor? Against, the motion's carried. Now we go to consideration adoption reports. Are there any reports from 9.1 to 9.8 to be brought forward? Yes, Linda, go ahead. Which one?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to call 9.7. Thank you.
9.7, Public Relations Fund. Yep, good. That one. Yes. Any others on the board? Any other reports want to be pulled at this time?
Well, Mr. Chair, 9.4 should be pulled because that's going to be referred into the closed session because that's the recommendation.
9.4?
I'm sorry, my apologies, 9.5.
Well, I've already pushed that one on.
Oh, okay.
You've already voted on that one to put it in camera. No,
Sweetness.
we've already done that one.
Okay,
okay.
perfect. Thank
So
you.
the only ones we haven't, the only one that you want would be 9.7 Public Relations Reserve Fund Policy Review. Fine, that's okay. So the balance of the reports, I'm going to ask Mario and Steve to move the rest of the reports. All those in favor? Against, the motion's carried. So Linda, go ahead for 9.7.
Thank you, Chairman, and through you. First off, Mafalda, thank you very much for this report. Just a couple of questions on it. This is something that I asked at the last that you were looking at a policy review, and this is the report coming forward. I guess in looking, the recommendation is not clear. Basically, the recommendation is to receive. There's no direction here. In reading this report, I guess my question, Mr. Chair, through you to Mafalda is, there is a suggestion that we go to a fixed term commitment. Is that what you are looking for? And because there's no recommendation in this report, it just says to receive. So it just talks a bunch of stuff, but there's no actual direction requested.
Thank you, Regional Councillor Jackson, through you, Mr. Chair. I have a recommendation that you're right, Councillor Jackson, to receive and for the board to provide feedback on the draft proposals within the report.
Okay.
One of which is the fixed term. So I'm looking for direction. I'm looking for direction before we get into the full-fledged review of the policy.
Okay.
And, you know, over the course of the last several months, we looked at various options. So really, I'm just looking for a preliminary feedback on where you'd like to see this go.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Chairman, through you. Looking at the suggestion of fixed term commitment, I am very much opposed to that. In reading this, it says that it gives them some type of comfort that they're going to have funding. If they rely on our small pittance that we give them as comfort, I think we've got a problem with these agencies. So I think they got to do a little bit of work, and I think they need to come back every year. I think they need to make their requests. This funding isn't going to hold their agencies together. So I definitely would not support that, Mr. Chairman. I think they have to, if they want the money, they got to do the work. And it's not a lot of funding. It's not like we're giving them hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to keep their agencies afloat. I think it's a token, I'm going to maybe use the word of appreciation from us to them. So I really would not be supportive of that. But Mr. Chairman, what I'd like to do is we do a very comprehensive review. I believe I've asked for a list of agencies that we have through this fund have provided, and I don't see that in this report today. I'm not sure whether that was a direction or not to staff, but I think that would be important. I think there is some agencies, I asked the question previously with respect to some agencies, and we don't fund them. It's because they never asked. So I think, Mr. Chairman, that we need to, I'd like to see a list, maybe for the last 3 years is what money. We have a lot of money sitting in this fund, and the money is doing no good whatsoever, sitting there just collecting interest. I think that we need to open our purse strings a little bit. And there's a lot of agencies that could benefit from this, but I don't believe we do a very good job in letting agencies know that this funding exists. So I think there's a multi-pronged approach that we need to take to this fund, Mr. Chair. I think it can do a lot of good work, but I think people need to know about it. And I really believe that they need to come back and apply every year for it. So I don't know. I don't know from a direction perspective, because it's just to receive, but I think this needs a lot of work. And I also believe when we make these donations, there should be some type of communication strategy wrapped around the board giving money to these agencies. I think is a good news story. I think from your, at least from my perspectives, looking in, I don't think we sing enough of our praises. And I think that there needs to be a whole communication strategy attached with it. I think there should be check presentations. I think we should sing our praises and let the community know that we're giving out to these well worth agencies. So, Mr. Chair, I'll leave it like that, but I just want to refer this back to staff. I would love to hear comments from my colleagues on this, but I really believe a fixed term commitment is just laziness, Mr. Chair. So I'll leave it like that. Thank you.
Thanks, Linda. I agree, Linda, on the no, I'm not in favor of giving them a fixed sum, just continuing to it's just an automatic check. They get it every September, whatever. I don't believe that's where we're looking. I do like the support equity, diversity, and inclusion. I do like that going forward with some funds being directed there, and especially with the wellness. So I also think that you're right. I'm not sure we need to go looking for people. I think the knowledge out there is that we do have some funds available, but I think we need to keep it to the more or less the policy that's going to that are police and health or that related. I think more so than giving it to, no disrespect to an organization that like I know Big Brothers and Big Sisters, we do help them there, but there's some organizations that keep applying for it, but they really don't fit a little bit more to do with York Regional Police. So I think it needs to be part of our bigger picture. And I think that you're right, the list of where we have given, I think I think it's, I think we can provide that over the years and go backwards and say, this is the list. So we can bring this back in June. I think it would be a timely, to bring something back. And you're right, we have some funds there available, but we seem to keep giving the same 5,000 or 2,500. And I'm a firm believer, no disrespect to golf tournaments and dinners. I think we want to give them the money. I have enough dinners and I know that if they, we always order a table and sometimes we fill it, sometimes we don't. It's not fair, but I think especially with the Yellow Brick House, they need the money. They don't need us, because if we go to if we buy a table, then they're actually taking half of it towards the purchase of the table, and they're not using the other and only get half the amount of money. Same as a golf tournament. I can play enough golf, but I mean, if I'm invited somewhere else, that's fine. I can play at the golf tournament, but not under the money that we want to donate to see that they go a little further. So anyways, I'll take your motion, Linda, to receive and refer back to staff for a further report sometime in June, if not in the fall. And I'll get Walter a second that. Go ahead, Mafalda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Regional Councillor Jackson, for the feedback. It is in the early stages. There are so many options out there, I think that we can do, but if the board is not open to the fixed term was really to streamline the process so that the longstanding partners that have been requesting over the course of 15 years, that we would provide them with the funding on the condition that they provide a performance outcomes report. In fact, that's going to be a stipulation regardless. I think it's important to get that right now, no one's doing that. No one's providing an update on how they use those funds. So that is absolutely going to be a stipulation. In addition, I am looking to reach out and consult with some key partners that we have that have, for example, our financial services people and other persons, I think that should come on board. In fact, I would like, if this board is open to having a board member as well, work with staff, or at least act as a sounding board advisor to this process, if the board is open to that. That certainly would be helpful. And I can come back in June, as you indicated, Chair, and bring back another draft as well with some of the feedback that I received today. So thank you.
Good. Linda?
Thank you, Chairman. No, I just want to make myself really clear. I wasn't questioning the criteria of who we give money to. I think it's well laid out in this report. That wasn't what I was questioning. My questioning is them applying. But I also believe too that we need to come forward with a communication strategy when we present this money as well, public relations or corporate comm, or get it on official YRP, Instagram, something like that. I just think we need, or whatever, we just need to do that. That was it. And Mr. Chairman, if you're looking for a warm body, I would be more than welcome to sit with Mafalda on this. This is very near and dear. I believe there's a lot of agencies that need funding, but we also have to have a big stick and bash the ones over the head that don't qualify. So I'd be very willing to bring that big stick to the table.
Perfect.
Thank you.
That's a warm body with a big stick. That's okay. I'm okay with that. I think Walter would agree. Well, I don't think you can move that yourself, so I'll get
thank you, Chairman.
Steve and Walter to move that, to receive the presentation or the report, and that Linda be our representative on the committee, or for to bring back a further report. I do, but also I think it needs to be kept inside York Region, and it also needs to be kept for things that we do. And I think they need to, there should be maybe even something come back at the board after we send the funding. They need to say how they're doing at the end, and kind of, to give us a snapshot of what's going on with it. I just hope it just doesn't go, it's not always an automatic funding. We need to make sure that when we give the money out, because it is money that we have, that it's very well used. And I know it is, but let's just make sure we cross all our T's and dot all our I's. All those in favor? Against? That motion's carried. Thank you. Okay. So that completes the
Mr. Chairman, sorry, my apologies. Point of clarification, if I could.
sure.
9.8. Did we approve that, or what do we do with that one with 9.8?
We approved the proposed new vehicle design subject to the community consultation and feedback, but it's also in camera. So if there's something else you want to add to it,
I realize
believe.
that. I'm just looking at process, Mr. Chair, because if we're gonna go in camera and have a discussion, why are we approving it before the in-camera discussion?
Well, that's what I have down here in front of me. So I guess that's, very well put. So, we can hold that one down too.
Mr. Chair, a motion to reconsider on that item, please, if I could.
So you want me to hold it down till after the in-camera?
Yeah, but we need to reconsider to push it into camera. Yeah, I'll motion to reconsider.
Okay, all seconded by Mario. All those in favor? Okay, so now we refer it back into to Indian camera.
I-
Okay, because
yep.
that
I'll
was one
motion-
that was really like the in camera. We're not really sure that why it was in camera, the design, but I mean, I'll let the chief or the acting chief or the staff talk to it when we go in camera. Then we'll come back out, okay? I'm not sure why it has to be, but anyways, we'll come back to that.
Legal counsel wants to speak to me.
Yeah, well, when we get inside. Well, that's okay. We'll go inside. We'll put it inside first then. Okay, so what did I get? A mover to move, Linda and, I got that done. Good. All those in favor? Yep, good. Against, the motion's carried. Okay, any unfinished business, or any other business? I don't see any of the news on the, about the new recruits or, that's a good news story, I understand. Do you want to say anything about it, Acting Chief?
Absolutely, and thank you, Mr. Chair. It's excellent announcement. It will certainly, we hope, allow us to increase our pool of candidates as the province has sought to reduce the fees that are incurred by our candidates as they go to the Ontario Police College. So it puts them in a more it puts them in a better financial position as they enter and consider the career, as many people do join YRP may have to seek a bit of a pay decrease before they consider the career. So we're welcoming this announcement by the Premier and his government.
Good. It sounds good and it's something we need. But I don't think we're having too much of a difficulty getting recruits. I think we're doing okay. I think we got 40 coming up for 40, is it 40 coming up for graduation in fall?
There'll be
38.
37, 38, 37. Oh, it's getting up there around 40. So that's guys, it's like an auctioneer, but anyways, that's okay. But I mean, anywhere, I'm gonna say 40, but it's around 37. But anyways, but I think that's a good thing. But are we finding, I think we're getting, deputy.
Well, I'll defer to Deputy De Silva. as he
Sure.
Oversees that area.
From a recruitment standpoint, obviously our corporate development, branch is looking at attending a multitude of areas where they go out not only to schools, but they've entertained a new process of looking at members within our community that may be in current fields, for example, nursing, people that or teachers that may be reconsidering different job opportunities to see whether or not policing would be the future for them. So when it comes to our recruitment process, we continually evolve in terms of our recruitment strategy. They do an exceptional job of going out into our community. And obviously, as a police service, we are a police service of choice within the GTA. Once again, we are one of Canada's top 100 employer. And all of those factors really contribute to candidates actually coming in and choosing York Regional Police. So it's not just the profession, it is also the organization. And our organization does attract a caliber of applicants across the Greater Toronto Area and Ontario. And that is a credit to obviously the Police Services Board, to their support, and obviously to the leadership of our organization. So it is a team effort in terms of how that unfolds.
Good. Well, let's hope this helps going forward. But yeah, Walter?
Just a quick comment on the new provincial policy. I think it's an important step in providing access for disadvantaged communities. And that's critical in terms of the effort we're making as a police service to be inclusive. I think that door opening and that prospect fundamentally changes the game for the better.
Good. Yeah, I agree. Madeline and I had a talk this morning and for the board meeting, and I think, sometimes you can go to school for a long time but I think street smarts is very important, especially in this, the way policing is today and knowing the community and being part of the community and being street smart amongst what's going on. So I think it really does work, and I think this will open up the door, hopefully for some. But then the comment on the news this morning was, okay, you're gonna give it to police, now what about the nurses? And going forward, and so it's something that maybe they're gonna have to start to look at, and the cost of becoming a nurse and going through all the schooling. So anyways. And the other comment I had regarding the Chief of Staff, Lena Bajoni, arranged a delegation to Ottawa last week, and I took down 7. I took Linda, Deputy Mayor Vaughn, and then the rest, 6 other mayors. We went to Ottawa and we met with some ministers, and we felt we're very successful. We talked to the ministers about our issues, from homelessness to housing, to transportation and that thing. But one that really stood up for them was the one that Deputy Acting Chief Amita did. He did an excellent job presenting to the minister and to the people that were there about guns and gangs and community safety. You did an excellent job, sir. Very well respected, and I think we opened up their eyes to say just what really is happening in York Region with the boots on the ground. Not to say they don't know, but I think it was a chance for us to. When we go, we still believe it was a great opportunity for us to do it, but we will not see the fruits of all our work until maybe down the road. But I mean, an excellent. Just want to commend you, sir, for what you did very professionally, and he never really got excited. He just kind of laid it out there very well. So, but we appreciate that. Go ahead.
Well, thank you for your comments, Mr. Chair. I really appreciate that, but I do stand on the shoulder of giants, and it's the team and the men and women and the members of YRP in those units to support us, provide us with the information that allows us through you and that initiative to communicate the broader message to the policymakers. So we really appreciate that opportunity, and thank you very much. And I know Chief McSween was very excited about the opportunity and was very disappointed he couldn't attend, but I told him I tried to represent him as best I could.
You did very well. Linda?
Thank you, Chairman. I want to echo the comments that you made about Acting Chief. Al made an excellent job, Al. You did a fantastic job. But Mr. Chair, besides the issues that he raised with respect to bail reform, he also raised an issue that is becoming very even just last week at the Peel Regional Police Services Board, the deputy chief spoke about auto theft and how presently it's classified as a property crime, and Acting Chief Almeida did raise this, and how it's not how it's organized crime, and that it fuels violence and organized groups. I don't know, Mr. Chair, if there's an opportunity. I think we need to start pushing this to get it reclassified from a property crimes. I'm not sure. I think we need to do this. I mean, Peel Regional Police Services Board did this last week. I don't know whether they did it in form of motion. Maybe we can look at that. But I think it's important that we look at getting this reclassified. I don't know whether this is a discussion for in camera in our private session, but I think that we need to get on the bandwagon. It looks like Peel is doing that, and as we know, auto theft is a huge issue within the region of York, and particularly within the city of Vaughan. And I think that we need to look at what we can do to advocate to get this reclassified. So I don't know whether the acting chief has any comments or whether it's just something that we can take back and have a look at. But I think that we need to really push this, because it's not a property crime anymore. We know what it is. I mean, you look at what they busted up. They're coming from Quebec. It's organized groups. It's organized crime groups. I don't know, Chairman, how we approach this, but I think that we need to, go with our partners in Peel, go hand in hand and start fighting this and getting this reclassified. So I don't, no comment is necessary, Chairman, from the acting chief, but I just want to look at maybe at next steps of what we can do to get this on the appropriate groups, radar, agencies.
Thank you, Acting Chief Amita.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for that, your comments and your feedback, Ms. Jackson. So there was an auto summit that was hosted at the early April, I believe. And so there are some working groups that are advocating, and there's 3 strategies that are currently in place. I'm happy to come back to the board with some of our recommendations and in terms of any sort of advocacy at the board level. And I know last 2 weeks ago, I spoke before a committee that Mayor Pellegrini sits on, and we also presented them with some similar with similar issues. And we are also going to be coming back to him and his committee with some speaking points that we think would be valuable in by way of advocacy to policymakers, both in government and in private industry.
Good, because I know at the summit, Councillor Jackson, the issue was that the chair of the Peel Police Board was leading the charge. He actually put the summit on, Police Services Board and Peel did it. And the chiefs were going to come back, we're going to meet as a committee with recommendations coming out of that. And I was hoping that one of the recommendations, what you just spoke of, going to the federal and provincial government. But since things have changed a little bit in Peel, when the chief gets back, we can check with him to see just where that's at. But I believe all the chiefs at that summit were coming together so we could speak in unison. So there would be all across the GTA, which gives us a little bigger push. So that's on our radar, and it hopefully will be coming back. But you're right, that was a valid point going forward. Good, thank you for that. Norma, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. My question, can you hear me?
Yes,
My question was 8.5. Since we have volunteered to begin the planned inspections, have we started and where are we? Can someone speak to that?
Norma, what number?
8.5.
We've already approved that, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, we've already,
We've already approved
we've already
that?
done that, Norma.
Okay, so have we spoken to that?
Yes, we have. We had the presentation, if I believe that's the use of force.
No.
Which one?
8.5 is inspections of municipal police
Oh, we've already
services.
done those, Norma, at the very start.
I
So
know
I'll
you
make-
went really fast. Can we speak to that in camera? At least I could have an answer.
For 8.5,
8.5, yes. Inspections of municipal police and OPP 2324.
no, is it 8.5 or 8.6?
I think it's 5. No,
So
not
maybe what I'll
8.6.
do is
5.
I'll get the chief to follow up with you. I'll get
Okay, thanks.
acting chief to follow, Almeida to follow up, okay?
Thanks.
Okay,
Okay.
sorry if I went too fast. I do apologize, but I kind of read it out 2 or 3 times about communications, and then I went right to the reports. Okay? Okay, so the last, I don't have any other businesses. Our special guest, do you want to say anything at this time? Thank you. Okay, so I need a motion to go in camera. Thanks, Madeline and Walter, to go in camera at this time, and then we will do with those 2 items and then come back after the whole report, and we'll come back out and prove a few things. All those in favor? Against, the motion's carried, so we'll clear the